Om Shanti is a greeting of peace. It means I, the peaceful soul, recognize that there is a peaceful soul in you as well. So Om Shanti, very warm welcome to everyone to this program on quantum healing. And in addition to that, I see many people here who celebrate the holiday of Diwali. So very, very happy Diwali to everyone. Diwali is a festival of light, a wonderful festival at the time when it's getting dark outside, where we remember that when the light within is shining brightly, we can handle any kind of darkness. But without the light within, we experience darkness as perhaps something that to be worried about or something to be afraid of. So very happy Diwali. I'm sure we're all going to get very enlightened tonight by this fascinating talk on quantum healing. And my guess is that many of you have had some exposure to quantum physics or even quantum healing. There's a lot of talk about that. But the particular focus that this talk is going to give you is how quantum healing integrates with Raja Yoga meditation, which is our main practice in the Brahma Kumaris. And this program is hosted by the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center in Chicago. We're part of a big international network of spiritual service centers. And Sister Gundi was just telling me she listened to a program earlier today from the Brahma Kumaris from the Middle East. So now that we're in this COVID world and we can't go to our centers in person, there's this huge opportunity that you can participate in Brahma Kumaris programs from centers all over the world. So if you enjoy this program that you're going to hear tonight, I hope that you do that. I hope that you go online and you will find many different topics, and you will find yogis who have many different fields of professional expertise integrating what they do in their professional life with Raja Yoga in order to make life work better and also in order to be able to serve the public better. So our presenters this evening are a couple originally from India, but now living in North Augusta, Georgia, or South Carolina. I always get that confused. North Augusta, South Carolina.
Yeah, we've been living here for the past 7 years and we still get confused.
Okay, well, thank you for pulling me out of that one. But both of them were doctors in India before they came to the United States. They came because Shwetank was going to continue his studies at the Mayo Clinic. Is that right? In Minnesota, rather. And so he did that and pursued his career in medicine. And Kanishta decided to go a different route. She got a PhD in mind-body medicine. And both of them have, of course, been interested in where science meets spirituality because they have developed expertise in both fields. And I think it's really a wonderful benefit of the time that we live in right now, that we have many individuals like this who have an expertise in science and have also taken it upon themselves to develop spiritual practices that lead to a completely different kind of expertise, and then put the two together and see how they fit. So this is what we're going to hear about tonight. How do these two fit together? And from the experiences of these two yogis who are also scientists, what have they learned that can help us in whatever kind of healing path or healing practice or healing needs that we're involved in right now? So very warm welcome to Shwetank and Kanishta Agarwal. They're not in Minnesota anymore. Now they're in North Augusta, South Carolina, and they are both meditation teachers there. as well as doctors, professionals. And so I look forward to hearing what they have to say for us tonight. I'm looking forward to learning myself. And this will be kind of conversational. I will be asking questions, but definitely you also feel free to ask questions. And if you're on Zoom, you can unmute your mic and ask a question. And if you're on Facebook, you can write the question in chat, and then Ragi will make sure that Shvetank and Kanishta hear that question.
Yeah, so first of all, Sister Mary, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much.
And
we are also delighted to be here with all of you.
It's a joy to be doing any project with Sister Mary. We have known Sister Mary for many, many years now.
And learned so much from her.
And learned so much from her, yes.
And still learning.
Still learning. And we have visited the Chicago Center so many times in the past many years. Kanishta has had the chance to live for at least 2 weeks. I got a chance to live for 7 days, and learned so much in the company of Sister Mary. So thank you so much for all of that. And again, I know this word quantum itself sometimes can be a little daunting, but I assure you that we will use the least possible amount of scientific jargon, only what's necessary, and hopefully we'll be able to break this down for you so that you can use this meaningfully in your lives.
We will try to make it simple.
Simple, yes.
Thank you. That was my request because of my aging brain. I said, you have to make everything in a level that I can understand it, and then everybody else will also. But I love actually hearing Shvetank talk about these topics that he's so interested in. It's fascinating for me, but I guess the one question I'm interested in, one question out of many, is that I totally understand your interest, the two of you, and I appreciate your enthusiasm about this topic. But why should those of us who are not scientists, why do we need to know about this?
Yeah, that's a great question. See, science eventually blends into spirituality, and it should. Currently, a lot of scientists try to separate science from spirituality, and that's why science has become so boring or so dry. And what my hope is that, like Sister Mary was mentioning earlier, to be able to create a wonderful marriage between science and spirituality. And so quantum healing or quantum physics is frontier science. This is the highest science probably can ever go before it actually melts into spirituality. And so I think first of all, this concept is not new. This concept has been going on for 5,000 years, ever since recorded human history. And it has, I didn't know that earlier actually, that this title or this quantum healing phrase has been used by Deepak Chopra. And over time, I got interested in what he was going to say. And there is so much in this to learn. There is so much in this for us to apply in our lives, that our lives will not or never be the same once you truly understand quantum healing. And so if you understand that in the past, what we have heard, if you go back into history, that human beings had the ability to heal themselves spontaneously. There were no hospitals as we know of. There was no healthcare as we know of. People had the ability to heal themselves. And why? Because of this quantum healing concept that they had mastered. So that's why it's important for everyone to know it now.
Great. I feel very fortunate to be here. Now I'm sorry I have to interrupt the little housekeeping thing. 2 people entered and we don't know who they are because their name shows as iPhone. So you have to turn your camera on, or turn your camera on so we can see who you are and know that you're here for quantum healing tonight. I'm sorry that we have to interrupt like this, but this is just kind of one of the aspects of having programs in Zoom. Okay, the two people who say iPhone, everybody please put your name, and also please turn your camera on. If you have not been on a program with the Brahma Kumaris before, we need to see who you are in order for you to participate. Okay, turn your camera on and put your name on, or if you cannot do those things, you unmute your mic and let us know who you are.
Sister Mary, this is Noshaba. I just name it. That's my
Okay,
new
good.
iPhone.
Okay, yeah, everybody please rename. Thanks for letting us know. So Shvitank and Kanishta, now that we know that it's really important for us to understand this frontier science, which is on the cusp of melting into spirituality, give us a little bit of background. So what exactly is, for a layman, what exactly is quantum physics, and what is it that's relevant about it in the field of spirituality from your experiences as yogis and also meditation instructors?
True, yeah. So first of all, what does quantum mean? Quantum, if you go into physics, this word has come from a Latin word really, but what it really means is the smallest discrete unit of energy. And so first of all, what I'll try to do is to give you what is the common understanding of quantum healing. But then I also want to take us deeper into, Kanisha and I together would like to take you deeper into what we have understood from our association with the Brahma Kumaris for the past 21 years, and applying the Raj Yoga concepts or the Raj Yoga methodology of approaching life into quantum healing, if you will. And so we are going to go much deeper than probably people in the world have done so far. And so going back to quantum. So quantum is the smallest discrete unit of energy. And what has been proposed is that just as photon is the smallest unit of light energy, just as electron is the smallest unit of electrical energy, and graviton, for example, would be the smallest unit of gravitational energy. Similarly, thought, one individual thought is the smallest unit of the energy of the consciousness. Yeah, see, the very act of thinking is the sign of consciousness. Like René Descartes said, I think because I am, or I think therefore I am. Yes, which really means in Latin, cogito ergo sum. I think therefore I am. So thinking is the most fundamental aspect of a consciousness. And so to understand that, there is energy in thought itself, and there is a very deep connection between the thought that we create and the manifestation of the thought on our external body, if that makes sense. You see, when we think thoughts, the way we think our thoughts, we create a consciousness in the same way. So if we are thinking negative, any thought that is coming is negative in our minds, or we're creating that actually, then our external physiology, the external biology, the entire body begins to change in a negative way. So in other words, it's not just biology, it's actually every aspect of biology. Our physiology, our anatomy, our endocrinology, our neurology, our pathology, everything, our pharmacology, everything begins to change. We now know this from a lot of research that has happened in the field of all of this, psychoneuroimmunology, mind-body medicine, that when we create any kind of thought, there are corresponding chemicals and neuropeptides that are secreted in the brain. And these get then distributed to different parts of the body through blood and different other systems. And all of these begin to transform every cell of our bodies.
Yeah, if you see nowadays, even they're talking about that our thoughts, they actually affect the genes as well. The genetic expression, actually, we can change our genetic expression using our own thoughts. It was believed that, just genetic expression is controlled by genetics or genes, like it runs in the families like that. But actually now they have come up with this concept that 99% diseases you can have control over, and only 1% diseases are because of, some genes or something, that you carry from your family or, hereditary or things like that. But, our genes, we have control. If we control our thoughts, if we change our thoughts, then we can change our genes. It is said that, we all have cancer genes in our bodies. But, if we keep creating negative thoughts, they lie dormant, they are turned off. But if we keep creating negative thoughts, then we are turning on those genes. And then those genes, then they when they get that they get activated, they get that trigger, and then they start multiplying, and that causes cancer. And there is one term that they use in medicine that is called as telomere. I am not sure whether you have heard about it or not, but telomere, actually, that is the end part of the chromosomes. Here, let me simplify it a little bit more. Every cell of our body has, the central part of the cell has a nucleus, and inside the nucleus, there are chromosomes.
That's the genetic material.
That is the genetic material. And every chromosome, at the end of every chromosome, has a little part that is like a cap. That cap is called as the telomere. You can compare the chromosome with maybe shoelaces. Just like our shoelaces, at the end, there is a little cap. Because of that cap, we can avoid the fraying of the laces. So similarly, this genetic material that we have in the chromosomes, that is we can keep that in control.
Or protected.
Yeah, they are protected, because of the presence of these telomeres. And if someone is creating negative thoughts, then these telomeres, they are affected, and that causes shortening of these telomeres. And if these telomeres, they get shortened, then a time will come that the cell will stop multiplying and new cells will not be formed. And this is the cause of aging. This is the reason why aging happens, because these telomeres, they are they kept shortening because of the negative thoughts that people create.
And it has been seen clearly that when we create positive thoughts, there is lengthening of these telomeres. Yeah. And there's an enzyme called as telomerase, and that helps in lengthening of these telomeres. It has been seen again and again in countless research experiments that the telomerase lengthening happens.
So it's a really dramatic point that you made about that, and I fully accept what you say, but on a kind of a real level. So what exactly is a negative thought, and what is a kind of thought that's going to be healthy for us? And I think, how do we, I have negative thoughts I've been having for a very long period of time, and I would rather not have them, but they keep coming. And so I don't want to shorten my life because of my negative thoughts. So what can I do about this?
Right. See, first of all, the awareness is important. And our hope is that this talk will at least create the awareness. Many times we don't even know the harm that we're causing to ourselves. I feel that's the first step. Like if somebody is putting their hand in fire, hey, you shout and say, hey, your hand is going to get destroyed. Don't put your hand in fire. So similarly, right now, our hope is that by saying these things, by bringing out this information out to the public, there will be a realization that I have to do something to fix my negative thoughts. And really speaking, what we have learned through Raj Yoga meditation is that we are the creators of our thoughts. Yeah. So if I'm creating my thoughts, I have been creating negative thoughts, then I have to stop that and
I can learn to create positive thoughts.
Yes.
Just like negative thoughts have become spontaneous, we can make positive thoughts spontaneous as well through the practice.
Through practice. Yeah, just like when we cook something, say if we make bread a certain way, we have practiced it over and over again, and we have perfected that way of baking cake or baking bread, and then we learn another new technique. So we kind of work with it. We practice. There's hit and trial, and then over time we perfect that too. So just to say that, just like a ray of light, a ray of light is made up of, in a way, carries the energy that is the sum total of individual photons in that ray of light. Similarly, the consciousness that we create, that our consciousness is the sum total of all the smallest quanta of consciousness, that is thoughts. So each thought is important because our consciousness is a combined, in a way, it is the sum total of all the thoughts. And so I have to be careful about each thought that I create throughout the day and throughout my life.
Yeah. So then could you, because I know from my own thoughts, sometimes it's kind of borderline, whether is this a positive thought or is this a negative thought? So could you give us some guidelines or some guidance? What makes the thought positive and what makes the thought negative?
See, a thought that makes us feel good, truly, deep inside.
Because any thought you create, along with that thought, the creation of thought is linked, it is connected with feeling. The moment you create a thought, you create a thought and immediately you feel that thought.
Almost like as if you taste it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does it taste to you?
So you will yourself know the way you feel. The way you feel, you are feeling sad. That means you're creating a thought in that direction. If you're feeling happy, that means your thought is positive. That's why you're feeling happy.
And now from Raj Yoga point of view, we know what we call as soul consciousness. So understanding our true identity, who we really are, and thoughts which are generated from that understanding become positive, whereas thoughts that come or originate from who we really are not, all that we have acquired is not who we are. What we possess is not who we are. And so thoughts which arise from that understanding are negative thoughts. But now if we understand there is actually a deeper understanding of this quantum healing or quantum physics, that it is kind of difficult to create positive thoughts throughout the day, or throughout our lives. The only way we can, like I said, even one negative thought can kind of change the total energy of the consciousness. So I have to be careful about every thought. But the only way I can truly create positive thoughts, the only way I can create high energy thoughts is if I am living or existing from what we call as a quantum field state. So that's why now, I guess, we could talk a little bit about the quantum field. What do you think?
Yes, yeah. Please tell us about that, because this is what we want to understand is how do we get to this place where we can constantly be generating positive thoughts?
Yes. So I will go a little bit into physics, to understand that we, all of us, and every object that you see around you is made up of smaller parts. So of course, table has the upper part and then it has legs. But then if you go in deeper into it, in what we call as the molecular structure, really there are molecules that bring these, put the table together in a way. There are molecules of the table, if you will. And then below, if you go even deeper, then there are atoms, and many different atoms or millions of atoms come together to create molecules. And then you go deeper into the atoms, there are subatomic particles like protons, neutrons, electrons. And then there are actually even smaller particles than that. Now they have been, discovered, like quarks. But now it's very important to understand that any object that you take, whether it's this mug, whether it's a cell phone, table, laptop, whatever, the space between the molecules, is so big as compared to the space that individual molecules occupy, that it is many, 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 many times, millions and millions and millions more than the actual size of the molecules. Now, if you go deeper into the molecules, the atoms are so far space that the space that each individual atom occupies is a minuscule part of as a ratio to the space between the atoms. And then if you go into the subatomic level, again, the electrons, protons, and neutrons occupy a very tiny space as compared to the space between them. So if you have some way to calculate the entire space that exists between anything that we can call as matter, yeah, any particle for that matter, and compare it with all of the matter. Yeah, so on one hand, if you group all the atoms together or subatomic particles together, and on the other hand, the space, you find that 99.99999, and you can go on for quite a bit, yeah, is really space. And only 0.00000, again, for quite a while, 1% is actually truly matter. So in any matter, any object that you look at, there is really only 0.0000, that tiny little bit of matter. The rest is not matter.
And we can say, that our body is matter too. So that means 99.9999% is a space. And just 0.00001%
keep going.
is just really matter.
Yes.
Yeah. That means there is no matter. So if there is no matter, so it doesn't matter.
But let me go deeper in this. See, what they found is through quantum physics experiments, that even these tiny subatomic particles would actually come in and out of existence. Yeah. So in other words, they would show up at some times and would not show up at other times. And this is where it becomes really weird in a way from quantum physics point of view. But they have explained it. The quantum physics experts or the scientists have explained this as what we call as the matter energy duality versus, or you can say it as the particle wave duality. What that means is that actually the particle doesn't even exist. It is a wave of infinite possibilities. So in other words, the particle actually exists as a wave of energy that collapses into a particle of experience for us. But it is not a particle. It is actually energy. So really at the core of all of us, core of entire universe, there is no universe. There is no matter. Even the hardest stone doesn't really exist. It gives us an illusion of matter. It gives us an illusion of hardness or softness or coolness or hotness or whatever it is. But at the core of it, it is just pure energy. Yes, so all of us, at the core of us, is just energy, and that's the quantum field. Is it making sense? Is it?
Totally. It's wonderful. I've never heard it explained so succinctly and so eloquently before, but it makes total sense. But so then what? In Raja Yoga isn't about the quantum field, obviously, but you're getting somewhere, right? You're getting somewhere.
Yes. Just to explain this physics a little more so that it kind of makes more sense. See, we even know that famous equation that Einstein talked about, E is equal to mc squared, that mass, when it is accelerated, it actually turns into energy. And so mass in itself is energy. There is no mass. So all that we see at the physical level is in the physical existence of ours. You see, the problem with this physical existence is that there is constant change. And change is the most constant thing that happens in this. And the second thing is there is limitedness. Because when we look at the physical level, things can only be so big or so small, or we can run only so fast or jump only so high, or we can stay without food for only so long, and so on and so forth. There's always limitedness. But at the quantum field level, it all changes. Kansha, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, before that, you would like to talk about the connectivity, because you were talking about the connectivity of the universe, right?
Yes,
So,
yes. So we
yeah.
can, good. Thank you very much. Okay. So before we go into the constancy and also the unlimitedness, we can talk about the connectivity. So you see, just like, think of it now, imagine a big wheel. And you see at the periphery, so this bicycle wheel, bike wheel, whatever you want to call it as, and there are spokes. The spokes connect the center of the wheel to the periphery, right, to the rim. And you see, as you go from the rim towards the center, two identical points on the spoke will start coming closer and closer and closer and closer. So imagine for a moment that the radius is what, say 12 inches. So 4 inches away from the rim, the dots, the identical points on the spoke will be closer than at the rim. And then if you go even further down towards the center, 4 inches, then these will come closer. At the center, everything comes together. All parts of the rim get connected to each other at the center.
Yeah, so that means we all are connected to
We
each
are,
other.
yes.
We all are connected. That means whatever we think is going to impact others as well.
Correct. So there is total connectivity. Quantum field gives us this clear understanding that we are connected to everything and everyone in the entire universe. In fact, more importantly, we are connected to the highest consciousness of the universe, to the supreme consciousness, to God, if you will. Yeah. And so you can look at that as the highest intelligence of the universe. So now if you're
So that means, if you are connected, if you are in this quantum field, then it becomes easy for us to get closer to that highest, purest energy.
Correct.
The cosmic energy.
Yes,
right?
You can call it cosmic energy, you can call it the highest consciousness, you can call it God himself, the supreme consciousness. So you get connected to the entire universe, you get connected to God himself. That's the beauty of this quantum field. So right now we are all at the surface. We are seeing things, as this is the refrigerator, this is the gas stove. But why don't we go a little down into the molecular level, atomic level, subatomic level, and then below that, really there is no matter. There's just energy. That's the quantum field.
Yes, that means you are going from gross to subtle.
Subtle.
The more subtle you come to that point, the more it becomes easy for you to connect to that divine energy, supreme
Correct.
energy.
You're connected to everything and everyone. See, right away, as I'm saying this, I'm sure I'm feeling that, and I'm sure you all are feeling as well, that there is a different kind of energy that is being created.
Yeah, and I like the example of the wheel that he described, because if you look at the wheel, at the same time we are connected, but at the same time we can also see that it is unchanging. As you come from the rim to the center part is constant.
It never moves.
It never changes.
See, the rim moves so fast. If you go closer to the center a little bit, that point will move a little slower. As you go even further towards the center, it will be less fast.
Yeah, speed keeps decreasing, and change will become lesser and lesser.
And then at the center, there is no change. You see, the biggest problem for humanity is change. Yeah, change gives us stress.
Yeah. Change is the cause of fear.
Change is the cause of fear, right? And so if we can go into the quantum field, and which we can say as quantum consciousness, then there is no change.
Yeah. So we can say that, if we are kind of coming from the gross things around us, and these gross things could be anything, what we see around us, what we are subjected, the things that are subjected to change, like the possessions that we have, the people that we see around us, even our own body,
Right?
it kind of changes every day, every single day. So many cells, they keep multiplying.
And
So-
dying.
And dying also, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, our teeth keep falling down, falling off, right? Yeah, yeah. Then the wrinkles, and then our nails start getting
Yeah.
all dry and things like that.
Mm.
So yes, our bodies are changing
Mm.
constantly.
So one term that you just brought up, quantum consciousness, and I understood this example that you gave about matter, molecules and things. And then I understood how actually matter is a form of energy. But what about consciousness? Is consciousness energy? Can it sometimes become matter? Or what is consciousness and what is quantum consciousness?
Right. So yeah, thank you, Sister Mary, for this question. Yeah. So see, consciousness is what gives rise to all that we see around us. See, somebody thought of aeroplanes, and aeroplanes were created. Somebody thought of microwave, and so microwave was came into place. So consciousness gives rise to matter, actually, but rather than staying at the level of the matter where there is constant change, we can go into the quantum field where there's no change. So staying in that quantum field, or in other words, functioning from the quantum field, would be quantum consciousness. That is, I am operating or functioning. I am doing all that is needed, the conversations that I need to make, the things that I have to do from that quantum field is what I call as, or what I like to call as, quantum consciousness. So in this state, we'll be totally free from all the stresses. And again, one more thing that we were going to talk about was the
Unlimitedness. Yeah, that is another hallmark of the quantum field, actually, the quantum consciousness. Because, the moment you enter into that zone of this, the quantum field, that zone, then what happens? This is zone of unlimited, this is the zone of unlimited possibilities and infinite potential. When we are in this field, then, we can achieve anything. We have so many choices here. And whatever we choose, the choosing is up to us. Whatever we choose in the quantum field, it bubbles up in our physical existence.
Yeah.
And that becomes a new reality for us.
What we choose there in the quantum field becomes who we are in the physical world. That makes sense.
So then the question is, how do we make good choices? And I was having a conversation with a brother yesterday who has a couple of teenage children, and he was talking about how there are so many options out there that young people are totally lost, getting distracted in all the options. And so you're saying it's a good thing that we have all of these choices. But this other person was saying, actually, for my teenage children, having all of these options is draining their energy and not allowing them to focus.
Yeah, see, what happens is in the quantum field, we actually experience pure consciousness. This is the purest state of our existence. In that, actually, all confusion ends. But yes, of course, we do have, see, just look at this wave. If you see a wave rises up and comes down. So in a way, what it really represents is that there are infinite possibilities for the atom. So let me take this a little bit further into physics. So what happens is there's this term in quantum physics that we call as quantum superposition, which means that a atom or any particle, neutron, electron, proton, can actually exist simultaneously in different shapes and different sizes at different locations. Very interesting. Is how can it be possible? It's not two different electrons. It's the same electron can exist in different locations, in different sizes, and different shapes even. So what it really tells us that it's not really it existing in different locations in different ways, it is actually a whole wave of infinite possibilities. And when we are observing that particle, or trying to observe or trying to search for the particle in the quantum field, then that wave of infinite possibilities collapses to that choice, to one choice. And the atom manifests itself in that location where we are looking for it, in the way we are looking for it. In other words, this is called as an observer-observed effect. That is, even that up till now, science had always thought that whatever phenomenon are happening in phenomena are happening in the external world or in the physical world has nothing to do with the observer or who is observing. But now we are realizing that actually through quantum physics, that our consciousness affects the observed effect actually. So in other words, the possibilities, the infinite possibilities collapse into the possibility that we want for ourselves in our lives. So that's why it's important for us to choose wisely what we want to choose. Yes, of course, for children now, there are infinite possibilities. Yeah, they can do so many things. But yes, there is an intellect as well that we can use. Deep inside, we know what is right and what is wrong. And again, if you go back into that quantum state, quantum field, you're connected to the highest intelligence of the universe, to God himself. And so all that you want to know, all that you need to know to make the right decision, all that information is available for you. Is it making sense?
Yeah. And so what it reminded me of is I have a colleague who had quite a serious stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got out of the hospital, her cardiologists, her physical therapists, all of these top medical practitioners told her caretakers the most important aspect in how this person is going to heal is how you see her.
Mm-hmm.
How you see her. And they said that if you see her as incapable, that is what you will get. And if you see her as full of potential, that is what you get. And so I've never heard that kind of message before, and they had never heard it either, but they took that to heart. And so they made that the core of their treatment was how they saw her. And she went way off the charts in her recovery from her stroke.
Thank you very much. That is a very practical example. That's exactly what we're trying to say. Because what they found was that when the scientists were trying to see the particle as a particle, the particle manifested itself as a particle. Whereas when they tried to look at it as a wave, the particle actually turned into a wave. So it was both a wave or a particle, or it was both matter and energy. And whatever we seek from it, if you will, that's what it manifests for ourselves. So,
in other words, we can say that, maybe we can call this as quantum perception.
Yeah, quantum perception. Yes. So, yeah, so you and I, each one of us exists as infinite possibilities in the quantum field. On one hand, we could be totally healed. That is one possibility. And there's the spectrum. So one end of the spectrum is totally healed, and the other end of the spectrum, totally diseased. Yeah, and all the infinite possibilities in between. Yeah, 90% healed, 10% not healed, 80% healed, 20% not healed, and so on and so forth. Now, whatever we choose in the quantum field is what will bubble up into our physical world, and that will become our reality.
So what then, as in terms of self-healing, then this is the starting point is how I see myself.
Correct.
That would be the starting point. And what would the next after that be? Or is that it? It's simply how I see myself every moment.
That's exactly what it is. It starts there and it ends there. The beauty is that once you enter into the quantum field, on one hand, you feel that everything is constant, there's no change, there is no movement, there's just total stillness, and there is this infinite potential. There's this superlative consciousness and intelligence that is at your disposal here. And whatever choices you make here becomes your reality up there. So now is the time for you to make the most conscious, most intelligent decisions based on, of course, the laws of the universe, which become absolutely clear and evident when you are in the quantum consciousness. So then you make the right decisions.
Yeah. So what does meditation have to do with quantum consciousness? Does it help us get there? Or, I mean, for example, tomorrow is going to be Monday. We've been celebrating all weekend here. I'm going to have 2 pages of emails. And so, you know, how do I get myself into that quantum consciousness while I'm doing rather mundane things? And how do I hold that quantum consciousness during the day? Is meditation a factor in it?
For sure. Yes. Thank you, Sister Mary, for this question. So in Raj Yoga, we call this as soul consciousness. That at the core of our existence, there is energy that is the soul, the life force that animates this body. So right now, constantly we are reminded, because there's so much of sensory stimulation around us that constantly reminds us of our physical existence, the physical dimension of our existence, the matter. Rather than that, with conscious effort, we can remind ourselves that there is a different reality, the other end of the spectrum, the matter, energy, particle, wave. So there's the other end of the spectrum that we can consciously go into every now and then, remind ourselves of that. And again, repetition is the key, because just like right from childhood, you know, we didn't know our names, right? We didn't come with our names. We didn't come with the understanding of our gender and, and all the other things. We were reminded of that as soon as we were born, and in the days and weeks and months and years after that. And all that we were told with repetition became who we are. We were told, you are, became I am.
So in other words, we can say that we have to repeatedly talk to ourselves that this is who I am.
Yeah.
I am that subtle energy. I am that
Correct.
point.
Mm.
I need to enter into that quantum field every now and then. I have to work on that.
Yeah, that's very good. I've been kind of asking all of the questions, and I think other people might have a few questions for you. And actually, one question came up in the chat, which I'm going to give to you. And I had said in the beginning that you could unmute your mic and ask a question, but now I'm going to ask you, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. And so one question that came up is, one person asked, is there any other way to explain this without physics?
No, yeah. So physics is one of the ways, and I find it very interesting to use this route, because in today's world, people want it from a scientific point of view. You don't have to. You can skip all of this jargon, and you can just say, yes, there is energy. Yeah, I am pure energy. I'm pure consciousness. And you don't want to even use the word quantum. Yeah, throw it out of the window. Just say pure consciousness. Yeah, that's what I am.
You can make it simple for yourself.
Yeah, however you like. I don't want to say that I would like to complicate things for myself. That's definitely not what I like. But I like to, you know,
See it from different
angles. And this is one way of looking at it. But understanding that I'm pure energy, pure consciousness, totally healed, totally connected with the entire universe, totally connected with God, from whom I can experience all the healing that I need, and seeing myself already healed. You know, so say if you look at it even from the quote unquote law of attraction, constantly what we say is, oh, I have to heal myself, which means that I'm not healed. So we are reminding ourselves that I'm not healthy. And so when I say I'm not healthy, it means I'm diseased. So if I'm diseased, then I'm attracting more disease. Or if I say I don't have money, so I'm poor. So when I say I'm poor, that means I'm attracting more poverty. Rather than that, that's why the joy of experiencing the quantum field is where you feel totally connected, totally full, totally complete, totally whole. Yeah, totally healed, totally perfect, totally everything.
Just like,
Yeah.
it is said that God created us in his own image.
Yeah.
So if we enter into that field, we will be able to see our own image, our
Yeah.
perfect image.
Perfect image. And so then all of the, this, superfluous stuff goes away. I am totally healed. It's not that I'm healing, I'm totally healed. So when I see myself like that in that consciousness, then that will bubble up and I will become healthy. I will be able to live a healthy life.
Yeah, thank you. I want to hear a little bit about Kanishta's research on this, because I know she did a lot of research. But first, I just want to check in. Ragi, has anybody asked a question on Facebook that should be answered before we go into this very interesting research?
No, sister.
No questions. Okay, so this is what I would like to hear now, because I understand conceptually exactly what you're both saying. But I think you actually did research on people who use some form of quantum consciousness or quantum healing, or give us a really good example of how this works in practical life. Could you tell us what happened, what you found?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, during my PhD, I conducted interpretative phenomenological study that is in long-term Raj Yoga meditators. And these meditators, they were diagnosed with cancer. And so let me tell you a little bit about this study. It's phenomenology, that is a qualitative kind of research method. And this method is used to describe how human beings, they experience a certain phenomenon. And in my case, in my study, I choose cancer as a phenomenon. And because I wanted to understand, I wanted to explore how the spiritual experiences, the quantum experiences of these meditators who were diagnosed with cancer, they impacted the way they dealt with their cancer. So, what I did, I interviewed these participants. It was quite an extensive interview that I did in 3 phases. I audio recorded their interviews, I transcribed their interviews, and then I actually analyzed and I developed certain few themes. And I will be sharing with you a few of the themes here in this session. But the commonality that I found in all these participants was that they had shifted their awareness from limited to unlimited. With respect to quantum mechanics, I can say that they were actually practicing living in the quantum field, and they were able to access the tremendous healing power through the practice of quantum consciousness. Usually, what happens when somebody gets this diagnosis of cancer? What is the usual response? The usual response is, first response is denial. They're not ready to accept the diagnosis, right? But in these participants, all the participants, what they said, that it was easy for them to accept the diagnosis. So they accepted the diagnosis with a lot of ease and with fortitude, because they had this practice of, living in this awareness that they are not the gross, the physical body, but they are that energy, they are that soul. So, when they were told that, you have cancer, because they were already living in this quantum awareness, quantum consciousness, they were practicing that, the way they perceived the diagnosis was, at the quantum level. So they were not seeing that diagnosis as cancer, but they were seeing it as a blessing in disguise. So their perception was completely different as compared to those people who get the diagnosis and then they have this denial, the anxiety, and lot of fear and depression. So these participants, they did not experience any of these.
So see, those are negative feelings, negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So what is it going to do to the body?
Exactly, because they had this awareness that, if they keep creating negative thoughts, they did not have even this question, why me? Usually people, they have this question, why only me and why not someone else? So they never went into all those whys and, whats, all those questions. they just, they accepted the diagnosis and then they moved quickly, forward. They were not stuck. Usually people get stuck in their diagnosis and then they don't know what to do, and they keep, extending their treatment. But these people, they were very quick, okay, so this is what I have, now what next? So what next? So they move towards the treatment, very quickly, because, the decision-making ability, like you were asking, right, how to choose. So they were able to choose the right treatment for themselves because they were staying in this quantum field and they knew exactly what they needed to do.
So there is total clarity, in other words.
Exactly.
When
There was
are
clarity of thoughts and they were so stable. There was mental stability. They were very clear about what they want to do. They moved very quickly. And because they were not creating negative thoughts, they accepted the diagnosis. And one of the participants, I would like to share with you what she said, that, when I got this diagnosis, it was like, as if someone is telling me that you have fever, you have cough. So it was just like that. I have a little bit of cough and I have to take the treatment. So it was as simple as this. And she said that I was very careful not to create any negative thought, because I knew that if I create negative thoughts, these thoughts, negativity will enter into the cell of my body. And then, the cells will receive this negative energy. And then this is going to affect my mind because of the mind-body connection. She said that my mind is going to get messed up because of my own thoughts, and I don't want to do that.
And of course, the body is going to get messed up and the mind is going to get
Exactly.
messed up worse.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an endless loop.
Right. So you see how, these people were able to handle their diagnosis with so much ease.
So what was their practice? Did they share that with you? What was their practice that brought them into a place where they could accept this diagnosis from the place of the quantum field and then deal with the illness from the place of the quantum field?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Actually, I asked them about their practices, whatever practices they did. And main practice was that, they would like to stay there in that zone, quantum zone. So they would spend a lot of time in silence. One of the participants said that, I would wake up very early in the morning at 2:00 in the morning, and I would just sit in silence and I would connect myself to that pure energy, God's energy. So she will first remind herself that I am a soul, I am that spiritual energy.
In other words, going from the gross to the
subtle. Yeah. And so she would practice that, and from that she would go to that universal consciousness, it was not just the connection that they were making with that supreme energy, but more than that, they were actually forging a beautiful relationship with that energy. And very interestingly, one participant said that I made that supreme energy, God, as my buddy. So wherever I would go, I would take my buddy with me. So it was very easy for me to take the treatment, whatever treatment I was receiving. I would talk to my buddy and I would chat with my buddy, and it was very easy to get the treatment.
So total connectivity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Having that deep connection, deep personal connection with everything and everyone and to the highest consciousness.
Yeah, and because of that, these people were able to not only get the right treatment, but the treatment was also without any complications. They were not, because they were very positive throughout their treatment. One participant said that, when I was getting the chemo, then I did not feel as if the poison is entering into my body. But at that moment, I did this visualization practice. She did this another practice, the visualization practice. She felt as if God's energy, pure energy, is entering into her blood, her veins. And throughout the treatment, she had that visualization, and that really helped her to come out of that. No complications were there. Actually, she was able to feel very happy in spite of getting those chemo, all those chemo drugs.
Yeah.
So I think one point that you made, which many of us may have experimented in, but maybe not really hit the target on, was visualization. And so can you maybe explain to us a little bit, what is the role of visualization in healing or experiencing health?
Yeah, visualization is a topic in itself. We'll try to tell a little bit about that. See, what happens is, in a way, you can divide the mind into 3 layers. First of all, to understand that mind is different from the body. So body is gross, and body or the brain is gross. It has different parts, right? You know, I mean, many of you have never seen the brain. I have seen the brain many, many times. Yeah, so, but there's a brain that you can touch, you can feel, you can, you know, it's soft enough and all that. But the mind you cannot touch. So mind is, in a way, a more subtle energy than the energy of the brain. Now, this mind also has 3 layers. And as you go through these layers, the energy becomes more and more subtle. So there's this conscious layer that we are all aware of, right? I mean, that in a way we are looking at things, we're thinking about things, you know, this is the layer where, you know, we have thoughts, we have feelings, we have emotions. But then there is a layer below the conscious layer, that is the subconscious. So the subconscious, what it does is it, in a way, you know, mirrors the thoughts in the form of images. So the subconscious mind, as soon as the conscious mind says to it a banana, the subconscious mind creates the image of the banana from the past. You know, it has, you know, and where the past comes from is the deep unconscious layer. So what happens is, in a way, all that we see, all that we hear, all that we take in from the external world goes into eventually our unconscious mind, which we can call as the memory bank. And from that memory bank, the subconscious mind pulls out images of what the thoughts are, you know, to, in a way, corresponding images to the thought. Because see, if I say banana, or you say banana, you move towards a banana, not an apple, because already sort of a blueprint has been created by your subconscious mind that shows you how a banana looks like. And so then your eyes look for, or the conscious mind then looks for, where what is around that looks like that image. And then you see that same kind of object that looks like that, say, yeah, that's the banana, and I got to eat that. Yeah. So the subconscious mind always, on a normal basis as well, creates images that correspond to the conscious mind creating thoughts. So what we have to do now is to, in a way, consciously create images for, or create images in the subconscious mind that the conscious mind can then mirror in the external world, if that makes sense. You know, so in a way, the subconscious mind can be used to create the blueprint for the conscious mind to follow suit. So if I can create a visualization of healing, or I can create a visualization of a healed self, then the conscious mind will seek that reality, or in other words, create that reality in the external world. Is it making sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And now a question came up which may be somewhat related to this. And the question is, can you comment on the connection between colors and quantum consciousness?
See, in a way, color is gross, you know, there, and again, it's a matter of perception. One person could see a red cloth, and the other person could, if that person is colorblind, would see it in a different way. You know, and even, you know, colors based on cultures, based on what has been taught, you know, human eye can see what, how many million color shades? Many million color shades. And they say the trained eye can see many more million color shades. So again, the colors that we perceive depends on how our minds have been trained. So this is all at the gross level. What we have found, what scientists have found, that at the quantum level, there is really no color. But in a way, they say that if we remove all of matter, every little bit of atom from this entire universe, every electron, every proton, every neutron, every quark is removed from the entire universe somehow, then what will be left is this radiation, if you will, just background radiation, which will be of golden reddish color.
Hmm.
The color like behind you,
Hmm.
you have this. This is what scientists are now finding out, that this yellowish, orangish, reddish, golden reddish color hue will be all that is left. And so what we can do is, that's what I try to do, is through visualization, through the power of the subconscious mind, I take myself almost as if I'm drifting down, like this, little bit down into like this, like the periphery of the rim, or the periphery of the wheel, the rim. I'm going down towards the center, or going down into the molecular level, the atomic level, the subatomic level, and then I'm entering into this beautiful quantum field
Mm.
of infinite possibilities,
Mhm.
of pure consciousness, pure potentiality, pure energy, where I exist as pure consciousness, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the most healed state ever, totally healed, totally connected, where time doesn't exist, where there is no distance, where everything is totally, totally connected to each other, where I am connected to the universal intelligence, the highest source of healing. And then as I stay in this state, I feel healed. And as I feel healed, then I can allow this healed feeling to bubble up into my external world. And that actually really happens.
Mm.
Rumi talks about this too. There's this wonderful thing that Rumi said, that beyond all right doings and wrongdoings, there's a field, and I'll meet you there.
Mm.
And I think that field is the field of peace, field of silence.
That's
And
the
I
quantum
think
field.
that is the quantum field.
Yeah, Rumi was talking about quantum field.
Wonderful.
Beyond all right doings and wrongdoings, because in the quantum field, nothing like this happens, because there is no matter that we need to fight over. This is my land, this is my car, this is my chair, my sofa, my clothes, my shoes, nothing like this. Nothing can ever end. It's infinite. So where there's infinite, there is no problem of mine versus yours.
There is enough space there.
Enough space for everyone.
Yeah.
No fighting.
Yeah. Great. So one person had a question. Now Shaba had a question, and I would like her to just ask her question. That might be easier than me.
Yeah, hi.
So you go ahead and ask your question now, Shaba.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I have a question. Like you're talking like to think positive and be peaceful. Like mm, if I observe my thoughts and everything, like I'm more peaceful and my thoughts are more positive. So the result which I need to get, but I'm not able to get that result. So is there is some subconscious sometime do something because which you don't know? Consciously, like I am positive thinker, I am peaceful, like everything like which you mentioned is there, like 1 2 3 4 I accept it and try the direction where it can bring me, but there is something missing. So is there sometime subconscious which you cannot find it, like which have their own problems? I don't know, I can explain my question or not.
To some extent, I've understood. In other words, you know what to do, but you're still not able to do. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the conscious mind is doing the same thing, positive thinking and peaceful. So, whatever you explain, but even you are not heal yourself. So is there some conscious thing is interrupting the consciousness, which you don't know as a person? Like
Sure, there could be, but who created this? So we at some point created that, whatever we ingest, let's look at this way. Whatever we put in our mouth eventually reaches our stomach, right? So whatever we put into our conscious mind eventually trickles into the subconscious and then into the unconscious mind. So now we are going away from quantum. So just to answer your question, so here, you have to check what you put into the subconscious mind. There was something that you probably put. So if you put it, you can take it out.
so how we know that what is inside? Like even you are trying to be peaceful, you're trying to be quiet, you're trying to get the,
Right. So
from
see,
the
like,
nature, from the energy, but you don't get that thing,
correct.
like what inside.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how we go in that state then to
I got
deal
your
with the subconsciousness?
I got your question. That's wonderful. See, look at this as your house, your apartment, your room, or whatever. You put in the furniture, right? You put in the chairs, the tables, and whatnot. Now, there is possibility that you don't like the way your house is set up, but you're really not sure what you need to do to make yourself comfortable. What do you have to do? Spend time there, right? So once you are there in your house, you spend time there, you kind of realize, you know what, I don't like the way the bed is. I don't like the way the drawer set is. I don't like the way this is. So I need to change that, and you start working on it. So similarly, if you feel there is something that needs to be changed within in the subconscious mind, there probably is. Why not? We all have. We all have put things in the subconscious mind that we shouldn't have put in. Clearly, so we have to fix that. But for that, we have to spend time with ourselves, spend time going into that state, if you will. So what I invite you to do is to go into that quantum field. And from that quantum field, look at your subconscious mind. And I assure you, you will know exactly what is going on there. And apart from that, because you're connected to everything and everyone and to the highest power of the whole universe, you will feel empowered enough to be able to make the change that you want. So first is to be able to recognize what needs to be changed. Second, to be able to change what you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Both will happen
So,
automatically.
So, which I understand, I need to go in my deep level and then that subconscious bring in front of me, like.
Correct. Go inside your house, go inside your closet, just like you go deep into your closet, right, to try to fix and try to clean up everything. So that's what you have to do. You have to go inside your inner house.
So sorry, I can take a little bit longer. A person can take by themselves, or sometimes they need help for someone to dig that deep.
See, really speaking, we are empowered enough. You have everything that you need to do what needs to be done for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
But you might need guidance, sometimes, you need guidance.
Guidance, yes. So
Yeah.
that's why you have Sister Mary. Then
So what I would suggest, though, I think that's a good question that other people have been raising. And
yeah, that's why I just to be quiet.
I think it would be helpful if, because we usually do a little bit of reflection at the end of this, if one of you could lead us into a little bit of a reflection to just give us a kind of a working template of how do we do this? How do we get to that quantum place? And then maybe you can leave us there so that we can, then do our own exploration.
True. Yes, that sounds good. Thank you. Yes, I know it seems a little daunting, but I tell you, it is easier than you can ever imagine. So we are so used to seeing the external world, the physical world, filled with colors, filled with sound, filled with movement. But this is where there is a lot of stress. This is where everything is constantly changing, and there is a whole lot of limitedness. And apart from that, there is no connectivity. Me, my body, see, I'm limited by this body, my body, other person's body, my body, and anything physical, the table, the chair, the laptop, etc. So now I invite you to go from this gross level of our existence to our true state of existence, the more subtle state of existence. That is really who we are. So if you want to slowly go down, you might even take the route of an elevator, if you will. And so imagine as if there's an elevator that you're getting into. And so you're sitting in this elevator and you're going down. So like for the body, there are organs, and then there are tissues, and then there are cells. So each floor has these different layers of your existence. You as organs, you as tissues, you as cells, and you as molecules. And then you go further down, you as a whole lot of atoms. Then going further down, you have a whole lot of electrons and protons and neutrons. And then as you go one step further or one level further down, you find that all of it has disappeared. There are no electrons, protons, neutrons, there are no atoms, no molecules, no nothing. And suddenly you find yourself in this infinite space filled with pure energy. There's this beautiful golden red hue to the space. You suddenly realize that there are no boundaries to the space. It's infinite. You find that in this space, time too has come to a standstill. There is no distance, and therefore there is no time. And since there is no time, there is no change. And since there's no change, you find yourself totally connected to the entire universe. Here you are in the state of pure consciousness, pure potentiality, infinite capacity. Here you can be anything you want to be. You have infinite possibilities all laid out in front of you. To be totally healed, totally positive, or totally diseased, totally unwell, totally negative. You can see all of these infinite choices in front of you, absolutely clearly. Whatever you choose in this space is going to bubble up into that gross world that you're so familiar with in general. But the beauty is that in this space, you're also connected to God in a real way, the highest energy of the universe, the supreme intelligence. So not only do you have the clarity to make the right decision, but you feel totally empowered to move forward with the right decision. So go ahead and make the choice for yourself. And I have no doubt that you will take the choice of being totally, totally healthy. So right now, see yourself in this state of total health, total stability, total equanimity, vibrating in the highest frequency ever. In fact, you're vibrating at the same frequency as the entire universe, totally in sync with the entire universe and with God. You're vibrating at the same frequency as God Himself. See how that feels. You're whole, you're complete, and you're perfect. See yourself as that. And since there's no time, you were always perfect, and you will always be perfect. You were always healed, and you will always be healed. You were always whole and complete, and you will always continue to be whole and complete in this space. And truly allow this consciousness, allow this choice of yours to gently bubble up to the individual layers of the neutrons, electrons, protons, and then the atoms and the molecules, and then to the organs, then to your body and this physical world, all the objects and movements and sound. See yourself in this physical world again, which is so familiar to you, but now you are a totally healed, totally perfect, complete, whole being that is vibrating at the same frequency as God Himself, totally in sync with the entire universe. See how that feels. Whatever choice you make in the quantum field becomes who you are in the physical world, in the physical dimension of your existence. Om Shanti.
Thank you for taking us on that experience, and also for this very detailed and well illustrated explanation of what it is that we're doing. Because I think that we tend to want someone to tell us what to do. Okay, this is, my leg is broken, my shoulder hurts, I have neck pain, whatever. What should I do? What can I do to make this go away? Or my children are upset with me, my children don't listen to me, my spouse doesn't ever do what I say, what can I do? This is the approach that we generally take. And what you're telling us is that consciousness possesses divine intelligence. And we need to trust And we also need to explore and experiment with and see the possibilities that exist. And I think what I'm gaining from your talk tonight is that if I enter into that consciousness of being interconnected with all of the universe and intimately connected with God, I will naturally make a good decision. I won't get distracted by having unlimited options. I won't even see anything that's irrelevant. So wonderful you're sharing. Let's see, we have one more chat here. Let's see what we have. Thank you.
We really appreciate how well you summarized the entire thing. Thank you very much. That's exactly true.
So we hope that you come back and give us a sequel at some point. And we also have some programs coming up that I would like to mention to everyone who's with us tonight. Thank you all for coming and joining this very rich discussion. We have every day, Monday through Friday, at noon, we have 30 minutes of guided meditation. And it's the same Zoom link that you're on right now. And I think that we're going to kind of practice this kind of consciousness this week. So if anybody wants to practice along with us, you can tune in at noon Central Time, that is. And also every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time, we also have 30 minutes of guided meditation. And these are free of charge as a community service, as are all of our programs. We also, once a month, we have a program of, you might call Healing the World. It's called World Meditation Hour on the third Sunday of every month. It's the 21st of November from 10:30 to 11:30 Central Time, where we use the power of our consciousness to send healing vibrations around the world. And we also have meditation courses. Usually we have a meditation course every month, but the month of December is kind of a short month because of the holidays, and there isn't enough space to have the full course. So we offer a different kind of course. And this December, we're offering a course called True Self-Esteem. And that's on Monday and Wednesday evenings. There's 4 sessions. And then we will have a full meditation course coming January. And we will also have a Sunday evening talk like this in some Sunday evening in December, and that hasn't been scheduled yet. But if you would like to receive information about our upcoming programs, we send out an email every 2 weeks with our events that are coming up. And you can send us an email and we will put you on the list. We only send these announcements to people who request them. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Kanishta and Shvitank, again for a wonderful, wonderful presentation. If anybody wants to view this again, it will be on our Facebook page. And you can listen to the recording again there.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Sister
you.
Mary.
And one more thing, and you can send it to your friends also. If you have friends who you think should be knowing this, you can just send them the link and they can see it on our Facebook page. So,
right. And for whoever has not done the course, the Raj Yoga course, I invite you to really take the course with Sister Mary. You will, you can't go wrong. You will enjoy it.
It will be easy for you to enter into that quantum field.
That's what she's going to take you through. So good luck. If you have not taken yet, take it soon. You'll enjoy it. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.